One. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Insurance Bro Show. We have a great one lined up for y'all today, so do not go anywhere.
The Insurance Bro Show is a podcast for agents who want to grow their agency and be titans of the insurance industry. Learn from a panel of experts who share their agency struggles, their experiences with the nation's best carriers, and share the marketing secrets that successful insurance agents are using today. Now, here's your host, the Insurance Bro, James Cias.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, all of you insurance pros out there, let's dive into another awesome episode. But before we do, a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform it is that you're listening to us on today. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and drop a review and help other like-minded insurance agents find value from our awesome guests as we rise up in those podcast rankings. I will sincerely appreciate every single one of you for it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, I would love to have you on and learn from you as well. Go to www.insurancebroshow.com/guest and schedule your time slot. And don't forget, follow me on all social media at Insurance Bro Show. All right, we're super excited, super honored to bring another incredible guest on the Insurance Bro Show. Our guest today is a true competitor and consistently pours his heart into every endeavor. When he's not helping people create a unique, customized plan for their future, he can be found on the basketball court, coaching young men towards excellence. Our guest understands that every individual is unique and there is no one-size-fits-all policy. He brings his passion from the court to his work as a life insurance agent and loves to work with people who might otherwise not have a financial plan at all. He loves to help people create and implement this financial plan. And today, we'll get to learn what it takes to develop a personalized approach that meets today's needs and tomorrow's as well. Joining us today from New York Life, welcome to the show, Osiris Nalls!
Dude,
welcome to the show.
I like it. I like this. I seriously like this. That's better than any intro that I've ever had in my 20, years of playing, basketball ever. Yeah, even senior night in college, that was a better intro than that. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can go ahead and take the clip. I'm going to send it to you after the show.
Oh,
you can cut that section out and hand it off to anyone you want to. Just have it playing in your, in your headphones when you feel you need a hype up,
Yeah,
and that's cool, baby. I mean, you know how it is.
Yeah, and then the movie, what's the name of the movie?
Tombstone.
Tombstone. Love that movie. Love that
Such
movie.
a great,
You hit it on the nose, baby. Good job.
I'm your huckleberry.
See, he's got jokes, right? He's got jokes. Good job to Hernan, our producer. He's kicking butt back there.
Yeah, he's the man.
So, Osiris, tell me about yourself. Tell me about how you go from the basketball court to life insurance. How did you get into this industry to begin with?
Yeah, so it's my experience is an interesting one. So I was a school teacher and basketball coach for 20 years, started in like 1999. And finally, I got out of the teaching sector, but I was still somewhat involved in coaching. I was actually coaching at Harvard Westlake, high school in the Valley. So basically what happened was I stopped coaching basketball and the life insurance opportunity was presented to me. And I interviewed with a couple of places and the fit just wasn't right, because when I stopped coaching, I actually started doing some personal training, but I was also, I was still coaching, but I was kind of doing it on the side. I was at the Merman School, which is out here.
There's some of that entrepreneurial spirit already inside you.
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, long story short, I was still coaching at a gym. And I had got my insurance, I had got my license, and I got hired by New York Life, but I didn't start officially. So the week that the gym shut down was the week that I was supposed to go into my 16 hours of training. So it kind of happened all at once. Gym shut down. The hours were available for me to dive in to life insurance full time. I did that and I haven't looked back since. So
awesome.
yeah, and then like I said, I just got a new job.
So there's a couple of things with that. You know, first of all, you have you're getting thrown into the fire,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And getting a business started in this time of COVID when everything's pandemic and you know it's really hard to meet people. That's one particular challenge.
right.
But you're in an industry where people are thinking about life insurance more and more.
Right.
So tell me how the experience has been, you know, where you have both sides of this, right? You got the people that are thinking about it more. So like
Right.
that kind of makes the sales process easier,
Right.
but you still have to go out and meet people, talk to people, get the business. So how's that going for you?
It's been tough. A lot. Start off with a lot of phone calls, and fortunately enough for me, because I'm in my hometown. I've been in my hometown. I've been successful as a basketball coach, and I've created such a network from a coaching standpoint.
Nice.
Majority of my clients are former players, calling up a whole lot of coaches. So I have more former players that are clients than family members.
So you're getting them started pretty young. I mean,
exactly.
They can't be that old if they're your former players.
Well, honestly, I've been coaching since 1999. So Nick Young is actually a former player, and he's in his mid-30s.
All right.
Yeah, so
it's still young. It's still young. I'm in my mid-30s, so that's still young.
So you're young. So you're a young boy, as they say. So like you said in the intro, it's given me an opportunity to really focus in on my guys and educate them, because I was always the coach that very long-winded. I've got a story behind everything. We're talking about a scouting reporter, and I'm gonna tell you about a James Baldwin poem or a quote before we get into the scouting report. So I've always been the one to hand down information and things of that nature. So it's just giving me an opportunity to school some of my former players on long-term investment, not necessarily thinking about death, but using the policy as a financial tool,
right?
Covering your assets, covering yourself, being responsible for your family, just thinking more long-term and really thinking about wealth as opposed to thinking about riches. And it's helped me in my thought process, and it's also helped me in my perspective and how I view my relationship with my kids, and making sure that they understand the benefits of financial wealth and understand what financial tools are accessible to them as well. So
as
it's
a
been
coach,
great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as a coach, I mean, you had the foundation, you had the influence. That's the word I was looking for, with your students, with your players already. And I mean, that respect just transcended even into adulthood. And so how many years was it? I mean, was it like several years? Nick Young was someone that you mentioned. Was it like several years that you had talked to him and then you just hit him up and like, hey, I'm doing life insurance now, let's talk?
Well,
or was that an ongoing relationship?
It's funny because I don't know how this will be received, but I still play, and we play on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday at a park, at undisclosed park outside. And I just saw Nick yesterday, and I see a lot of former pros. I see a lot of my former players on the weekends because we still play. So the minute that I get to the park, which is kind of like a positive way for me to network, we'll have conversations about financial wealth and financial opportunities before we even start playing. And fortunately, I have some of those former professional players that can actually stamp or verify a lot of the things that I'm saying, because these are things that they've vested in, earlier on in their careers. So it's given me an opportunity to do that. So
can you give me an example? Like, what are some things that you tell those younger players, and that you have the experience from the older players that have already done this?
Just creating, like, using the permanent policy as a financial tool to create cash value, and being able to use it to offset tax diversify your portfolio, retirement income, of course, building cash value in your policy, and using the cash value in your policy to, in a sense, as we call the bold theory, banking on yourself, banking banking on whole life, using that policy as your own personal bank. So if you need money to, you're in a spot and you need a loan, well, why go to a bank where you can actually go to your own policy, withdraw that cash tax free, pay yourself back, and watch your policy continue to build in equity, but you have the funds that you need for car payments, weddings, school if need be, just those little things that may come up. Now you're no longer under the policies and the restrictions and guidelines of the bank. You can just pretty much take it from yourself, but doing it a lot earlier in life, so you can watch those, especially with the New York Life, those dividends being paid on that policy. Watch those dividends pile up and watch that cash value pile up. So it's a good thing to actually do it early and to have the wherewithal to do it earlier, not only for yourself, but actually do it for your kids. Like I said, I have two policies on with my kids. And because they go to a very prominent school, they're in and around kids who have prominent parents. So they'll be able to use the cash value from their policy to do business ventures, to do group investments and things of that nature. It doesn't necessarily come out of my pocket, although I am funding it. But in a sense, it's still their money. And they can use it to their liking, but they'll understand where it comes from, how it's built, the equity was built in that policy, and to use it, in a positive way. So
it's an investment in their future. And
definitely.
You're talking to other players who you've known for, a couple of decades. And, it's the same type of thing where you're talking to them and giving them the same advice. It's like, hey, look, I'm setting this up for my kids because I know my kids, whether they want to go to college or they want to start a business or they want to buy a house or whatever it is, I'm putting these things in place so that they can do all that. And you need to do that for your kids too. Giving
you the game. Like I said, I'm still giving you game the same way. I gave you the discipline to work out the same way I gave you the discipline. We were a defense first type team, which takes a lot of discipline. It's the same game. I like I always tell my former players, I'm not giving you any more information than I would my own kids. And you know that because it's always heartfelt. It's always passionate. And there's always a purpose in it. Give you game so that you can be better and then your kids will be better. So
try to make the world a better place.
I love it. I mean,
I like that last picture. That was a good one. He's killing it over there. He is killing it. He's on time though. Jesus, come on.
I know, right? He's on it. He's on it.
Yeah.
It's great, because you have that influence. You've been, talking to these people, for so long. So what about outside of that? I know that you said that as a coach, as a player, you have a pretty good network. People kind of recognize you, know who you are around the community. How is that serving you? Like, what types of things are you doing to get your name out there and talk to more people?
It's tough though, because for me, I guess that, and I was discussing this with my unit manager, because I've been doing coaching and teaching for so long. When I'm in the community, and just the basketball community is just, as soon as I step outside, I'm basically in that community. I'm known as coach. So it's a little difficult for me from a business standpoint to be seen as somebody that's in the financial area, because most people know me through an athletic or a physical or a fitness, type of area. So
makes sense.
I have to sometimes, and you have to watch, because you don't want to overdo it. Sometimes I have to be invited to even have, these types of discussions with people or former players, or sometimes I'll kind of put it out there in a sense of hopefully, putting debate out there to have these discussions. Sometimes I'll just bombard the situation and say, hey, let's talk finances. Let's talk wealth. Let's talk. What are you doing? Are you covered? So it depends on, the group. I can have these different discussions. So yeah, it's you, but surprisingly, like I said, I don't want to mention some of the guys' names, but I've been backed by a couple of former players that are of all-star status. I would definitely give you that have had their own stories about the significance of having life policies and starting their kids young. So it's helped enhance the message. But sometimes, with people, they don't trust the system or trust a process that they really don't know.
Right,
because
right.
they haven't been the information. They haven't been privy to the information, and a lot of people haven't. Unfortunately,
it's absolutely true. I mean, when it comes down to life insurance or insurance in general, one of our biggest jobs, one of our most important jobs as insurance agents is to provide that education to those customers, because they don't know what they're buying. They don't necessarily know what they're getting into, especially, I come from the PNC side.
Okay.
So I always talk about, customers who go on Google and they search auto insurance and they, get to a website, and then they got that sliding tool, and if they slide it all the way to the left, the price goes down. And so that's what they do. They slide it all the way to the left, and the price goes down, and they're happy. But it's not until I get the opportunity to talk to them and educate them on what those coverages mean that they're like, oh, well, maybe
I say, hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I swear to God, if he doesn't stop, man. It's so dude.
It's on point.
Does he have them like lined up and he's like, okay,
yes.
Hilarious, man. But it's so, man. I got to give it to him, man.
Dude, I almost had you.
This is good. This is better than I thought, man.
Good. I'm glad. So, I mean, the whole thing is we as insurance agents, one of our primary responsibilities is to educate our customers.
Right.
And before we started the show, you were talking to me about some of the high quality education that New York Life provides. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, gee, we have a system where Mondays, obviously, we have our GO meetings, and we get tons of knowledge in our GO meetings. We always have a guy by the name of Jeff Bradford, who he always has a particular product or a topic that he dives into for about 30 minutes every single Monday. It can be a particular policy, it can be a procedure, but he'll dive into it and break it down for the whole GO to understand this is the way that New York Life is going as far as this particular product or this particular procedure, full on. We also have what we call NILIC U, which is a separate website that we have at our disposal that has tons of information. It's almost like a library of everything that you need to know about New York Life product, New York Life guidelines, New York Life marketing strategies, everything, just everything top to bottom. Within that NILIC U, we are required to, and I want to say it's probably a quarterly type thing. So maybe out of every 2 months, every 3 months, we're required to go through particular modules. So in those particular modules, there are probably 20 to 30 different sections that we need to check off in that particular module. Once we complete that module, we have a resource guy by the name of James. He comes in and we do a Zoom, and he basically goes over what you've learned from those particular modules. So it's almost like it's not a test. It's kind of a test, but it's a review and a test of what we had to go through, what we learned in those particular modules, which cover everything from, again, sales, marketing, your how do you communicate with particular customers, elevator talk, all these different sales strategies, all the different policies, the different riders that are on the policies. So right now I'm on what we call Essentials 3. So I've passed Essentials 1, I've passed Essentials 2. Now I'm on Essentials 3. So I'm probably halfway into Essentials 3. So the edging, and like I said, we have to do some type of studying every single day. Then we have, again, our unit meetings where we discuss different topics. Every agent may have a particular customer or a client that they're working with. We'll discuss those scenarios. We'll make up scenarios and things of that nature. So, and we have a training module on that we use to access how we come up with the numbers for particular policies. So you can come in and start playing with, different prospects, and okay, I have a 10-year-old prospect. I have a 30-year-old non-smoker preferred rate, coming up with different premiums, coming up adding the different riders. So it's ongoing. It was
amazing.
Yeah, it was the best situation for me because coming from obviously the education background, I had an opportunity to work with a broker, but I knew that I wasn't going to get the detailed information and the detailed knowledge with the broker that I would New York Life. So I chose to work with New York Life, and it's been the best thing for me. So
that sounds incredible. I mean, there's so much knowledge. I mean, New York Life is a huge company.
Yeah,
they've been around for how many hundreds of years? Right?
You know forever. What? It's been forever, and as we have been around for, I want to say, and the company will kill me for not having this, readily acceptable. So please forgive me.
Okay, we're not live. We'll edit this out. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. You know what? And it's and we always have this information and the war. Oh, you got me.
What was it?
I can't find it.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
Since the
no worries. But I mean, since 1800.
Yeah, late 1800s.
Late 1800s. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. I mean, it's over 100 years, and I mean, it's a company that has been around the block, and they've got all of their stuff dialed in. So the kind of education that you are getting is just, I'm sure, incredible. Just talking to you, I'm excited to learn some things. So that's the next question: is what are some of, or what is like the most mind-blowing thing that you've learned about life insurance in general, or specifically from New York Life?
Oh, you know what? I want to say probably the most. There's nothing. I would say probably the most mind-blowing topic that's been discussed with New York Life, not so much the coverage in itself, but when we were speaking of generational wealth, how if you were to invest in your infants, at birth, for 15 years, how that investment can, in a sense, generate generational wealth. And I think that is mind-blowing because, again, there was an example that Jeff did, how you can turn a face amount of $500,000, a policy for $500,000 with a dividend option term rider of $200,000 on that particular policy, and make it a custom whole life policy, which means the pay period is already established at 15 years. How that particular policy can turn into not only a death benefit of more than $2 million, but also a cash value of up to $1 million by the age of 65.
So basically, if you pay the policy for 15 years for your kid,
right,
as soon as they're born, by the time they're 65, they'll be a millionaire.
But not only will they be a millionaire, they will be able to pass $1 million on to their heirs. So they come into the game as millionaires. So that's true generational wealth, whereas that you can pass on a legacy to the next wave of kids, or kids that are coming up from behind you. So it's one thing to leave, a couple of dollars, a couple of $100,000. To be able to leave $1 million to your next of kin, I mean, they step into the game ready to go, and it costs you 15 years of basically paying a car note. So let's say my wife and I, we have that $500 premium for 15 months, and we split it. It's a measly $250 a month for 15 years, which is nothing. And then we look up, and not only is our child a millionaire, but their kid's a millionaire. They step into the game as millionaires.
Your grandkids are millionaires. Yeah.
Easy.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a shitload of money.
I like that one. That's another good.
He's on point, right?
Man, somebody, we have to tell a couple of people about him to get we got to take him Hollywood. We got to take him big time.
There you go. There you go.
That's
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
That's all he's doing back there, just smiling and waving.
yeah. That's probably one of the most alarming things I can say that I've learned about the insurance process. I had a brother-in-law that passed away some years ago, and he was fortunate enough to have a policy. And I can say from personal experience, my sister never lost a day of sleep from a financial standpoint due to the loss of her husband. Obviously, my brother-in-law, I miss him dearly, but a lot of times, a lot of families go through the heartache of losing that particular income. She still lives in the house, to this day. She was even able to take off work for a couple of years. Her kids wound up graduating from college. She paid for that. So from a financial standpoint, there was no heartache, no stress over how do I continue to live and take care of these kids with the provider gone. So
yeah, no, I feel like as an insurance agent and as a life insurance licensed professional, it's almost my responsibility to talk to people about that, because the worst thing, and I've heard this from people who are specifically life insurance agents.
Right.
I'm like I said, I'm more on the P&C side, but I definitely want to integrate more of that life. But people that are specifically life insurance agents, I've heard stories of, those sad moments when they're like, I tried to get that person a life insurance policy and they passed before we could. And, but then you have stories like what you were saying, like the one, with your brother-in-law, where when they have that policy in place, man, it sets up the family for you can't replace a loved one, obviously, but to not have that financial worry,
right.
On top of the loss of that loved one, it's such a blessing. There's that.
That was a classic one too. I love that one too, though, man. I love that one, man.
Osiris,
that one.
It has been such a pleasure to meet you. I got one last question for you, and then I want to ask you to give us all of your contact information.
Okay.
So this last question is, you've been on this entrepreneurial path for quite some time now.
Right.
What are some of the best books, podcasts, or mentors that you've had?
You're going to have me going to my phone. You know what, man? I'm going to say this. Wow, I'm digging into my library because I read a lot. As far as podcasts are concerned, my podcast selection is a mix of things that I find value for me in my life and the way that I was raised. So with that being said, my podcast selection can go everything from Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, People's Party with Talib Kweli, and Godfrey We Trust, Torre Show, Joe Rogan, of course, Drink Champs, because I love a lot of crazy shit every now and again. The Secret to Success, No Chill Gill podcast, Knuckleheads, Body Performance, a lot of social science and history and things of that nature. Being in touch with yourself. So podcasts that tune into that. As far as books are concerned, I can't say that there's a best. The last book that I read, I'll tell you, was Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. Was probably the last book that I read. And I get a lot of that information from my father. The two books that I'm definitely going to read, Respect was just a book by Jay Prince, who was the founder of Rap A Lot Records. And another one that's on my list, my newly updated list, is They Came Before Columbus. So,
okay, nice.
Yeah. So a lot of my information comes from social studies and history and things of that nature. So
this wasn't one of my planned questions, but what did you teach when you were a teacher?
Here's a funny thing. I actually taught PE. So, but I was, yeah, exactly. So imagine me with reading all these books and,
Oh, I
really
just had
disperses- yeah.
had the Jack Black in my head.
Uh-huh.
The School of Rock. You ever seen that movie?
No, I didn't.
Oh, he says the line is, "If you can't do, teach, and if you
Yeah.
can't teach, teach Jim."
Yeah. But I was fortunate. I taught health. I subbed. So I subbed all the subject areas, but my mainstay was actually physical education. But
Nice.
the area of subject matter that was probably the best that I was able to incorporate my personality was this subject matter called life skills. It was a class that all freshmen
nice.
had to take before they graduated in high school. And within that subject matter, I was able to run down a full gambit of everything: social science,
Nice.
history, political stuff. I mean, just my room was decorated with everything from
If only you knew everything you know now
mhm.
back then, like
Oh,
that
man.
would be something that you'd integrate too, right?
Oh man, come on. Oh, definitely. definitely.
All right, Osiris, it's been such a pleasure to get to know you. Such
Yes,
a pleasure
sir.
to meet you. Tell the audience, also we have a listening audience, so anybody who's just listening on the podcast, how can people get in touch with you if they want to work with you, buy insurance from you?
We can reach me at Old Nalls at ft.newyorklife.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me at Hoops by Osiris. Also have a New York Life page that's on your screen right now. You can also get in contact with me on Facebook as well. So all of those areas I'm accessible. Definitely reach out, contact, even if it's just for some general information to pass along. Please, definitely love to talk.
All right. This has been a great show. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, and I thank God that I actually accepted the invitation and thought about doing it. So it was a pleasure. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Same. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show. If you want to be a guest, please, I would love to learn from you. These are awesome guests. You can be an awesome guest. I promise it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have fun. We'll throw some movie clips in there and have a good time. Go to
Bang, bang.
www.insurancebroshow.com/guest and join me. And don't forget to follow me on all social media at Insurance Bro Show. That's all we got for today, everybody. Thank you all so much. As always, you have my heart. You rock my socks. And you
Have a nice day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Insurance Bro Show. James is the CEO of the Pipeline team of San Diego and is always in the market for top talent. If you're an agent looking for a place to hang your license, visit www.pipelineinsurance.com/agent opportunities or send an email to newagent@pipelineinsurance.com. Look for James on all social media at